Friends and viewer, let us discuss today about the novels of famous Stephen King. Stephen King is a famous American writer, a fictional writer. He had written many outstanding novels, the one of which is the Shawshank Redemption, which we are going to discuss now, and the other is very remarkable, The Stand, The Cat Cemetery, and many others. Though Stephen King is a very mysterious writer, he always write about mysteries of life, those side of life which common people cannot comprehend. So today we are going to discuss about the Shawshank Redemption, written by Stephen King. So the story of this is that Red, the narrator, recount how he planned and carried out his wife's murder by disabling her brakes, which accidentally killed a neighbor and a child as well, and earned him a life sentence at Shawshank prison. Shawshank is a name of prison, a very notorious prison. Red also remembered the arrival of inmate named Andy Dufresne, whose tenure at Shawshank affected the lives of everyone at the prison. Andy was sent to Shawshank for life in 1947 for the cold-blooded murder of his wife Linda and her lover Tanis Proglin Quentin. Despite the damning evidence placing him at the scene of the crime on the night of the murder, Andy has always maintained his innocence, which Red eventually comes to believe in as well. Andy has some initial difficulty adjusting to prison life, especially because many of other prisoners think he's a snob. A gang of men known as the Sister frequently attacks and rape him in the laundry room, while the guard look at the other way. Andy's fight the sisters, even though it always lands him in the infirmary and sometimes solitary confinement. Despite these hardships, however, Andy never complains or loses his confidence. Soon after arriving at Shawshank, Andy approaches Red and asks him to procure a rock hammer because he is interested in rock collecting and carving. After a while, he also pays Red to smuggle in some polishing clothes, and then, rather nervously, a large poster of pin-up Rita Hayworth. Red fulfills Andy's request. After a few years, Red and Andy both find themselves on a work crew, tearing the roof of the prison's license plate factory. Andy overhears Byron Handley, a prison guard, complaining to the other guards about the taxes he'll have to pay on the $35,000 he just inherited from his long-lost brother. Andy offers Handley some financial advice by telling him to give the money to his wife as one tax-free gift. And he even offers to fill out the paperwork for Hadley in exchange for giving 3 beers or to each prison on the work crew. After some initial hesitation and suspicion, Handley agrees. The deal wins Handy the respect of everything involved and makes him a mythic hero in the eyes of the prisoner. And he also becomes a valuable financial resource to those who run the prison. As a result, the guards and the warden protect Andy from the sisters, make him the prison librarian, and don't assign other inmates to his cell. Andy relishes his new position and works hard during the next 2 decades to significantly expand the library. Andy's financial responsibilities start with filing the guard's tax return, but but they soon expand to laundering money for their various prison wardens, including Bible-thumbing Samuel Norton. Andy has no moral objection to hiding the money that Norton received from construction companies, but he doesn't realize that doing so also hurts his chances of ever leaving Shawshank. A new inmate named Tommy William arrives at Shawshank and tells Andy that he served time in another prison with Elwood Blatch, a man who privately admitting to killing tennis pro Glenn Quanten. When Andy asks Norton to request a retrial, Norton dismisses Andy's claim and puts him in a solitary confinement for more than a month on the grain and drain diet of bread and water. Norton, meanwhile, transferred Tommy Williams to another prison out of fear that Andy would expose his money laundering operation if paroled. After another aborted attempt to reason with the warden and another stint in the solitary, Andy drops the issue and became more brooding and introspective. Eventually, Andy emerged from his lengthy depression and tells Red one day that he had a friend set up a false identity for him. Under the false identity, the friend invested $14,000 of Andy's money, which has since become more than the 37,100,000. Andy, however, can't touch the money saved under his alternate identity because he would risk exposing himself and losing everything. The documents and lucrative bonds are kept in safe deposit box at a local bank, the key to which has been stashed under a black volcanic rope wedged into a stone wall in the countryside near the prison. Andy dreams of escaping, assuming the new identity, and becoming proprietor of a small hotel in Mexico. Andy also imagines Red going with him. Red thinks nothing of this until years later when the prison guard finds Andy's cell empty one morning. The guards search the prison but find nothing until an extremely frustrated Norton rips the pin-up poster from the wall to reveal a gaping hole in a thick concrete. A hole leads to the sewage drain pipe which empties into the marshes surrounding Shawshank. Red figures that Andy slowly and systematically used the rock hammer and polishing clothes every night for nearly 20 years to carve through the wall. After completing his hole, Red also figures that it took Andy roughly 8 years to muster the courage to actually try to escape. A search of the marshes and nearby towns reveals nothing, however, and Norton has a nervous breakdown and resigns. Red never hears anything from Andy, but receives a blank postcard from a border town in Texas. Some months later, the story of Andy's escape spread throughout the prison and gives him an even greater mythic status. He becomes the symbol of hope for many prisoners, not only as someone who successfully escaped, but also as a man who never let prison crush his spirit. Red adds a postscript to his story about a year later, writing from a hotel in Portland, Maine, after being released from Shawshank. The transition to life on the outside has been tough, and Red thinks of Andy when he feels the urge to commit a petty crime or violate the term of his parole so that he will be put back in prison. Now working as a bag boy at a supermarket, Red uses the days off to explore the countryside, partly because he likes the freedom and the space, but also is because he's looking for the volcanic rock where Andy hid the key to the safe deposited box. Red walks the rural hayfield in search of the stone wall Andy had described year earlier, and after several weeks of searching, he finally finds the rock underneath. Red discovers a letter addressed to him for Peter Stephen Andy pseudonym. The letter invites Red to join Andy in Mexico and includes a gift of $1,000. Red concludes the postscript with renewed hope for the future as he decides to abandon his job, violate his parole, and make his way to Mexico to find Andy. So this is the story of how a person, an innocent person who was arrested with the charge of murdering his wife and who was sentenced to life imprisonment into the Shawshank Redemption prison, how he managed to escape, how he was patiently waiting for the moment that he should escape from that notorious prison, and finally he succeeded on escaping from that prison. So Shawshank Redemption is a very thrilling story and a very interesting story written by Stephen King. Stephen King had written a very marvelous other novels also. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will enjoy when you will read this novel, Shawshank Redemption. Thank you very much for your patient listening.